release that he can't get to.
Yo, what is going on, guys? We are playing some NHL 17 and we're gonna be doing some trade sims for Ilya Kovalchuk. It's been rumored, it's almost confirmed to the point, really, that Kovalchuk is gonna come back and return to the NHL next year. And now it's come down to the point where it sounds like, why would the Devils want Kovalchuk? They're a rebuilding team. They still need some young players to keep building that team up. Kovalchuk's going to be 34 or 35 going into the next year, and it just doesn't make sense for them to keep him. So they're talking about, he's got a very, very strong chance of being traded. It's actually been made, honestly, in my opinion, way too known by Devils management that they're letting him, talk to other teams. That's a terrible idea, in my opinion. Why would you do that? Because that just devalues the player that they already know, oh, he wants to go here. They're like, okay, if you let Kovalchuk go to this place, then it's going to be like, oh, all of a sudden, that team knows that's where he's going, and they got leverage, and you're going to get less in return for him. So I don't like the idea by that. But anyway, we're doing the sim here. We're going to try to do those, talk about, Russian reporters and stuff. So I don't know how credible they are. But Russian reporters, obviously they follow KHL and everything like that. And Kovalchuk saying that Kovalchuk wanted to go to places like Florida, or he wanted to stay back where he used to play in, around New Jersey, like the Islanders or the Rangers. So we're going to do Tampa, we're going to do Florida, we're going to do the Rangers, we'll do the Islanders, and then we'll do a couple more teams as well. Might throw in a team like maybe the Canadiens, maybe the Wild. See teams like that might also want Kovalchuk and see what they would have to give up for him according to NHL 17. We might also do a team like the Kings. They're like a team that, they want to win right now. They feel like they're a playoff team that could go out there and get a guy that can score some goals, play some good offense for them as well. That 12-year-long contract for the Devils, I love it. $6 million right now. He's had a steal though. He's not really a bad price. So where do we start? Let's start, what's the first one on the list? Anaheim, Boston, Buffalo, Carolina. He does have Kovalchuk. I wouldn't say overvalued, but he's, they got a lot of leverage on the fact that the guy's about to, he was obviously getting traded, so it's going to hurt the value. But we're going to start with the Kings. So the first one on the list here, we'll see what the Kings would have to give up. They're not going to give up Doughty. They're not going to give up Carter. They wouldn't give up Muzzin. They wouldn't give up Martinez. A guy like he's 29 years old. Who would they want? They'd want a younger guy, like a defenseman. Maybe a McNabb. Maybe, is there anything else down here? Doesn't look like it. They don't have a lot of younger guys that the Devils would probably be completely interested in. It's going to take some value to get him, too. It did, Tanner Pearson did have a great year for a forward defensively, though. Maybe they go after a guy like Tanner Pearson. All right, so here we are with the Kings. We went ahead and we grabbed Pearson, a first-round pick, and Purcell. And it looks like the Devils would still be, losing this trade. But obviously, you got to keep in mind that NHL doesn't have the slightest clue the leverage that these teams have on Kovalchuk. They're not going to get that max potential that he's got on his max trade value that he's got on his card. But we're going to try to keep it close, but a little bit under, and see what each team would still have to pay for him. So Kovalchuk would take Pearson, a first-round pick, and Purcell possibly for them LA Kings. We're not going to send the trades, obviously, because we'd have a problem sending the trades. We also took a little bit of Kovalchuk's salary away, just for the pure fact that he probably won't go for $7 million as he is right now, and they re-signed him. So there we go. There goes the Kings. Let's try the Minnesota Wild out. What's it going to take the Minnesota Wild to get themselves a Kovalchuk? All right, let's start out with Dumba. The Devils need defense. They like Dumba. That might be it. What about Kovalchuk for Dumba straight up? That's a pretty fair out-looking trade right there. They might have to throw on a draft pick. It seems a little pricey. We'll throw on, we don't even want to throw on an expensive one. How about a third round next year? That should do it. A third round in Dumba for Kovalchuk looks pretty fair. Again, I try to keep the bar a little bit smaller for the other team because his value is not as much as it should be. So we're going to go Dumba, and we're going to go a third round pick for the Minnesota Wild to get Ilya Kovalchuk according to NHL 17. All right, then the Canadiens. We talked about how the Canadiens might want Kovalchuk. They need some goal scorers out there. I'm sure they're just dreaming about having a line like Galchenyuk and Radulov out there with Kovalchuk. But let's see what we can do here. Shea Weber's max trade value. I did not know that. That is something else. Galchenyuk's not going nowhere. Sergachev, that is a guy the Devils would love to have, the Sergachev. Would they pay that much for him? That'd be a far stretch, but we're going to throw it on there because he's got some trade value, and obviously the Devils are going to want some young players. Is there somebody else? How about Emelin? Emelin is 30 years old. I don't know if they're interested in a guy like Emelin this early or this late. Is there anybody else that they could be getting rid of? Plekanec. The Devils are looking for prospects. How about Mateau? Would they throw Mateau on there with it? Probably a chance. Mateau, Sergachev. Looks like we need to throw in a draft pick. Let's throw in a late draft pick, and that should make that trade look pretty good. Let's throw in a third round draft pick for this year. That right there is a pretty close looking trade. If we'd get Kovalchuk for Sergachev, Mateau, and a third round pick would take Montreal. Man, this would be pricey. It would be pricey, and the Devils would be having a heyday if it was like NHL 17. Let me tell you what. Discard the trade. We're not going to do the Predators. The Islanders. Kovalchuk talked about how he wanted to live where he used to live, man. And the Islanders would be a place where he'd want to play then. But it doesn't seem very likely, but it is possible. And if that were to happen, what about a guy like Nick Leddy, 25 years old? Again, the Devils want some young defense. Maybe Pollock, though. Pollock might be more NHL type of guy ready for the Devils. I could see him trying to get both. But at 25 years old, there's really not... 25 is a great age for a guy like Nick Leddy, though. We're going to put Leddy on there. We're going to drop Pollock. And we're going to throw on... Again, we'll throw on a draft pick for good old Kovalchuk over here to the Islanders. I could never see the Islanders ever making this trade, though. It seems pretty insane to think they'd even consider it. But if it would, it'd be Nick Leddy and a second-round pick for Ilya Kovalchuk. Really, that isn't a bad trade for the Islanders, I guess. But still, no. I can't see it. A young potential great defenseman coming up for, I don't know, for the Islanders, it'd be hard to see. Let's do it, though. We'll keep it there. We'll say Leddy and a second-round pick. Let's go to the Rangers. The Rangers, why would they not want Kovalchuk, right? They can use some goal scoring. Their goalie's reaching the end of his career, and they want to win now. If they can win, they can do it. They'll do it now. Am I right? The Rangers, they don't have a lot of young defensemen. That's what I'm looking for these Devils, is some young defensemen. I know that's what they're looking for. Do they have any younger defensemen clear down here at the bottom? What about good old Brady Shea? I think that's how you say his name. All right, there we go. There we go. They're going to need a lot more than that, though. The Devils need a lot more than that. We're going to need some more prospects. You guys got some more young guys down here. How about they don't want to trade any of these guys, but they don't have a choice. Let me tell you what, they're going to trade him if I want them to trade him or not. I don't know how to say this guy's name, or I'd grab him. I'm going to put him on there anyway and pretend it's, you know, Booch something, Bucci Grass, but without the grass. All right, and then we're going to throw on, once again, we'll throw on a draft pick and see what they would be willing to throw in there. It'd probably take a first for the Rangers. These two guys in a first-round draft pick, you know what, we could probably get rid of this guy. We could probably throw in Shea in a first-round draft pick. That seems a little bit low for the Devils, though, still, so we might have to throw in another draft pick. Let's throw in a first and a second. There we go. That's pretty close. That's pretty close. It takes Shea a first and a second for Kovalchuk to go to the Rangers, according to NHL 17. I love this, man. This is great. The NHL knowledge. The Sharks, would the Sharks consider it? That doesn't seem like a, I don't know about that one. The Sharks got some older guys too. Maybe they want a guy like Kovalchuk. I don't know. The Blues reunite Tarasenko. Who else did we say we was going to do? Tampa Bay. We're going to do Tampa Bay. Oh, we skipped the Panthers. We're going to do the Panthers because they talked about how Kovalchuk would like to play in Florida. Because, you know, Kovalchuk, Florida. All right, Strawman, 30 years old. Nope, never mind. Victor Hedman for Kovalchuk straight up. How you like that, Devils fans? They'd be loving that. Oh, how about this guy? How about this guy whose name I cannot say? Kokowek. Defenseman, like I said, we're looking for defensemen for the Devils and a draft pick. What would it take these guys? What kind of draft picks they got? Oh, the Maple Leaf second-round pick. It's not going to be as good as NHL 17 seems to think it is. That's not bad. That's not bad. Again, the bar's a little bit small in Tampa Bay's mind, but still, I think that'd be pretty good. Tampa Bay, Toronto Maple Leaf second-round pick, and Kokowek. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to keep going here. The Leafs. I don't know about the Leafs. I don't know why the Leafs would want him still. I don't understand that. If they need something, is it not defense, not Kovalchuk? I heard them talking about going to the place like the Leafs. It never made sense to me. The Capitals get rid of Ovechkin for Kovalchuk. The Devils would like that. Oh, you know, they like to talk shit about Ovechkin. I'm a big fan of that. All right, the Panthers. The Panthers would be a place because he wants to go to Florida. Again, they have the leverage, though. That's the thing. That's the thing about Tampa Bay, too. If he'd go to Tampa Bay and he made it known, I think it'd devalue him a little bit. Keith Yandel's not. No, that's a little bit young. Aaron Ekblad, though. They'd love to have an Aaron Ekblad. That'd be a straight-up trade offer. That'd be fair, according to EA. How about that? Damers. You know what? We'll go and we'll throw in. Looks like McCutcheon, but it's not. It's not Andrew McCutcheon. It's McCaution, and what else do you guys got on here? Anything the Devils might be interested in? How about this center right here? He's not even under contract. The Devils would like Harry Luck. They would love him. Thanks for the offer. And we'll throw him on there. And then again, we'll throw on a draft pick. It takes a lot to get Kovalchuk. It's adding up, and it's adding up in a hurry. The Coyotes second-round pick, that's not even going to do it. We'll throw on a Coyotes second-round pick. We'll throw on their own second-round pick. And all of a sudden, it's looking like a trade. They're 2 seconds. The Arizona second, Florida second, Howard Luck, and McCaution for Kovalchuk. Doesn't seem too bad. Doesn't seem too good. I don't know the farm system of the Panthers too well, though, to pretend I know what I'm talking about here. But the Devils would be getting some young guys, no doubt about that, for Kovalchuk. Just for a good time, we're going to try the Sharks. The last one we're going to do and see how the Sharks will do. You know, they are a team that wants to fight for that Stanley Cup right here, right now. They wouldn't mind taking him. What if they had to give away a guy like Mueller for him? I think they'd be able to do that. Mueller, maybe a draft pick. It looks like it'd take a San Jose first, though. Mueller and a first-round draft pick of San Jose for Kovalchuk. That'd be a pretty solid deal right there. Guys are probably like, no. That's all right. I'm good. I'll pass. But yep, there's San Jose. I think that's the last team we'll do. I don't know. There's probably some other teams that you could argue and say, well, they need him, but some teams just don't make sense. I can't see him going to any team like Arizona or Carolina, because why would he go to another, no offense to these teams, why would he go to another losing team? He'd play for the Devils. It wouldn't make sense for him just to leave kind of deal. If he's leaving, they're giving him the reason to, you know, they're like, go talk to other teams you want to. He's going to want to talk to teams that are Stanley Cup contenders next year. He wants to win that cup before he retires, and why he's still got some good years left in him. So that's why I chose the teams like that I did. I think that's it though. I think that's all of them. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, obviously EA has him a little bit high value because of the fact that, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that they knew they had to trade him, maybe he would hold that value, but it's a little interesting. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.